Welcome to SIRA MCQ YouTube channel. Today we discuss advanced level A-level accounting paper 2024 question number 27. This is related to overhead cost absorption. Okay, look here, what are the requirements? There are two requirements in 27 and 28. Both questions are related to this information. Look here. First one, the cost of production per unit. Okay, production cost of production, only production cost per unit, and total fixed cost for the next period. Okay, there are two items. We read 28 now. The contribution per unit of a product. Okay, firstly we find the cost of production per unit. Okay, we can schedule the production cost calculation. There is a production cost statement. No, look here, this is a statement. There, this is rupees. Production cost per unit. Production cost per unit. How can we calculate? Unit primary cost per unit. How can we calculate? Direct material per unit. Direct labor cost per unit. Direct other cost per unit. Cumulated amount, the sum of these three are total primary cost per unit. After that we add production overhead cost per unit. Production overhead cost per unit. At that time we absorb some cost. After that we can calculate total production cost per unit. This is the structure. We must calculate the production cost. Okay, firstly read the question. Look here, use the following information to answer question number 27 and question number 28. Look here, Gemini PLC produces a single product, only one product. The expected activity level of company is 20,000 units. 20,000 units. Activity level means production units. So production units 20,000 units. The following estimates are provided for the next period. First one, direct raw material means direct material. Okay, cost per unit 2 kilos at 300 per kg, 1 kilo. Look here, direct raw material cost per unit cost 2 kilos. There are 2 kilos required to create 1 unit. Rupees at rupees 300 per kg, kilogram. 1 kilogram is 300. We consume 2 kilograms. Therefore 300 multiplied by 2 create 1 unit. Okay, therefore direct material cost, how can we calculate? 300 is 1 kilogram multiplied by 2, 600 is 1 unit direct material cost. Next one. First one is direct labor cost per unit. Per unit direct labor cost 2 hours. There is 2 hours required to create 1 unit. 200 rupees per hour. Hour cost is 200. There are 2 hours. Therefore 200 multiplied by 2. Okay, to create 1 unit. 200 multiplied by 2 to direct labor. 200 multiplied by 2 is 400 direct labor cost. Next one. Production overhead absorption rate. This is related to overhead cost. Okay, production overhead absorption rate 300 per direct labor hour. 300 per direct labor hour. You know, this is the absorption rate related to production overhead cost. This is the 300 rupees 300 for 1 labor hour. 1 labor hour. Look here, 300 per direct labor hour. A 1 labor hour 300 overhead cost be incurred. At that time, you know, direct labor per unit 2 hours. There are 2 hours to labor. Direct labor hours per unit we want 2 hours. Therefore 1 labor hour we can absorb 300. No, there is 2 labor hours. Therefore the absorption rate multiplied by 2. Why? In 1 hour we use 300 production overhead. There are 2 labor hours. No, therefore 300 multiplied by 2 is 600. Okay, next one. Total non-production overhead. Non-production overhead are not related to production. This is the non-production. Okay, profit markup on total cost 25%. Next one, additional. It is estimated that 50% production overhead and 75 non-production overheads as variable cost. Look here, it is estimated that 50% production overhead cost and 75 non-production overheads are as variable cost. Okay, look here, there is a variable and fixed. No, look here, it is estimated 50% production overheads and 75 non-production overheads as variable. Okay, therefore this is not impact to production. This is variable. No, variable and fixed. Okay, therefore we can find the answer. What is that? There is no direct other cost. Therefore total primary cost is 1000. We can add total overhead cost 600. 1600 is answer. Total production cost per unit. Okay, 1600 is, there are 2 answers. What is the total fixed cost? At that point, fixed cost, we find the fixed cost of that. Therefore there is a unit cost. No, you know, direct material is variable. Why? There is a 1 material cost, there is a 2 material, there is a variable. Okay, direct labor cost. Why? This is the variable. Why? Per unit 200 is 1 hour. There are 2 hours. There is a variable. The product by product, there is a variable. Okay, product by product, another cost we must be incurred. Why? There is a 400 for 1 unit. No, another 400 for another unit. Therefore this is variable. This is variable. No, this is total. No, at that point this is the production overhead cost calculated. But look here, production overhead cost, there is information. It is estimated 50% of production overhead and 75 of non-production overheads are variable. Therefore, there is a 50% is variable, no? Another 50% is fixed. Look here, 50% of production overheads as variable cost. Look here, you know production cost, production overhead cost. This is the production overhead cost, 600 per unit. Okay, they said that 50% is variable. You can think another 50% is remaining. This is a fixed cost. Fixed. The question said that they required the fixed cost, no? Okay, total fixed cost. Therefore, we find the total fixed cost, the 50%, this part. 600 into 50% is 300 per unit fixed cost. But they want total, no? There is a total production capacity 20,000 units. Therefore, I multiplied this to 300. Why? Is a unit fixed cost, no? I multiplied 20,000. Therefore, I can find the answer is 6,000. 6,000. Okay, 6,000. Cut it and 6,000. 6,000 is this is the production overhead. Okay, there is another information there. There's one production fixed cost. Okay, they said that 75 of non-production overhead. There is a non-production overhead is total one. They are 8,000. 8,000 is their non-production overhead. 75 of non-production overheads are variable. Do you know there is a 75 of non-production overheads are variable. This is variable. We can think there is a 25 remaining. 25 is remaining is fixed. Therefore, we find the fixed amount. This is total, no? Therefore, 8,000 into 25%. 25% is 2,000. There's a 2,000 fixed in non-production overhead. You know, there's a production overhead. There is a 6,000, and we add non-production overhead 2,000. The 8,000 is total fixed cost relating to this situation. This is the production overhead cost 6,000, non-productions are 2,000, total is 8,000. 8,000, we can find the answer. 8,000. Answer is 1,600 cost of production per unit, and 8,000 is answer is 3 for question number 27. In next video we find the 28th answer, contribution per unit. In next video we meet question number 28.